Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Thomas Tuchel has been sacked by Chelsea. I'm going to be discussing why I think that was a very unfair decision, why it's a weird decision, why Todd Boehly is basically just Abramovich 2.0, it seems so far, and also why Potter is the right man for Chelsea, but Chelsea's not the right club for Potter. As I say, I'll explain what I mean by that shortly. If you are new, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you aren't new or you just have thumbs or whatever, then make sure to hit the like button because it helps me and also because I'm telling you to. Anyway, Thomas Tuchel has been sacked by Chelsea. This comes in the wake of 1-0 defeat against Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League. It was a really weird performance and obviously a really bad result for Chelsea and for Tuchel. But this wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction to that 1-0 defeat in Croatia. This has been coming for a long time, apparently. This has allegedly been coming for a long time. The new owners were never really convinced by Tuchel as the long-term option, and they've always wanted another manager at the club, allegedly. But even if that is the case, I think you've got to have a proper justification to get rid of someone. And getting rid of Tuchel wasn't a proper justification. This is a man who came into Chelsea when they're in a bit of a shambles. Lampard has just been sacked. None of his own players, Tuchel, and he wins the Champions League with them in like 6 months at the club. And let's be honest, let's be frank. That club that won the Champions League makes it even worse as a City fan. But that club that won it, in terms of like the actual personnel, was probably the worst club that's won the Champions League, the worst team that's won the Champions League in at least a generation, I think it's fair to say. I can't think of one that's worse in terms of the actual players. And it just goes to illustrate the achievement that Tuchel carried out at Chelsea. So there's that. He also won the Super Cup. He also won the Club World Cup. He did get to 3 cup finals and lost them all, in fairness, but he still got his club there. And I just think it's a really unfair decision. And I just think it just demonstrates a lack of class from Chelsea, obviously a lack of loyalty. And speaking of loyalty, Tuchel's a man who stayed at Chelsea when they were going through all that uncertainty in respect of Abramovich and the sanctions. Tuchel could have easily left. He is one of the best managers in the world, one of the best managers in the Premier League. You could have easily gone somewhere else, gone to a different club and just gone, actually, no, I'm not staying on this sinking ship. I'm going to be the first rat that leaves it. We saw that players were not, like Christensen and Rudiger, they weren't interested in staying. They wanted off that ship. But Tuchel stayed throughout. And how's that loyalty been rewarded? Well, it hasn't been rewarded. He's just been sacked unfairly. As I say, won them the Champions League with a relatively poor squad that finished 4th in the Premier League last season with no time and none of his own transfers. Subsequently won the Super Cup and the Club World Cup and even got to the FA Cup final twice and the League Cup final, only losing in weird circumstances against Leicester and then against Liverpool on penalties in both instances. So yes, it's just, and for me, that's why this just stinks of Abramovich 2.0. That was a dynasty where they won trophies, they won Premier Leagues, they won Champions Leagues, but they consistently, unfairly sacked their managers. And I thought that, or maybe I didn't think, I don't know what I thought, but I think the general understanding was that new owner, it's not going to be exactly the same situation. You know, Chelsea are going to try and do what Liverpool and City and what Arsenal are doing in terms of, you know, it's Pep City, it's Klopp's Liverpool, it's Arteta's Arsenal, it's a dynasty, it's going to be Tuchel's Chelsea. He's going to be our Guardiola, he's going to be our Klopp, our future Arteta, whatever. And that just hasn't happened. He has been unfairly dismissed. And this sort of like leads into my wider issue with the new owners at Chelsea. And Boehly is the sort of figurehead of being the chairman. He's the man who goes to the matches. He is sort of the person, at least in terms of figurehead, who's replaced Abramovich. And maybe this is an unfair characterization from me, but Boehly reeks of petulant child to me, of organised chaos. And it's probably an unfair thing to say because he's obviously a very intelligent man and a very astute businessman. But just the way he's carried out he's carried everything out at Chelsea, as I say, it just reeks of like petulance and a lack of class and not really knowing what he's doing. He comes in, Chelsea, let's forget all the off-pitch stuff. Let's park that over there and let's just talk about on-pitch stuff. Actually, no, by off-pitch, I mean the whole Russia thing, but we can talk about off-pitch stuff in terms of the structure of Chelsea. Chelsea was a very well-run club despite all the sackings and all the unfair sackings, etc. They still won lots of things, and the point was that the structure internally, forgetting all the second managers, was still there in respect of you had Czech, and you had, I believe it's pronounced Granskaya there at the club as well, stalwarts of the Abramovich era. And Bowley comes in, and instead of leaning on their support and going, right, tell me about the culture of the club, tell me about how we do things here. He's come in and he's just gone, nah, actually, no, forget, stuff all that, scrap that. I know what I'm doing. I'm a big boy man. Check, leave, mate. Granskaya, leave, mate. We are getting rid of the Abramovich era totally, and it's just a clean separation between the two. And again, maybe think, well, that's the right thing to do because of all the sanctions and the Russia situation. But I don't think you need to ditch the whole organization, the whole structure, and just neglect people who have been running this club for however many years, who know the inner workings of the club and football, by the way. And football, they know much more about it than you. But he seems to have come in and gone, oh, actually, I know better. And I'm going to appoint myself the director of football, and I'm going to be hands-on with all these transfers, and I'm going to decide what this club needs because I know better than you. That's what he stinks of to me. He spent around 250 million quid this window. And realistically, how many of those, people are going to talk about why did they sack Tuchel when they gave him 250 million quid of players he wanted. But that's not even the issue I really have, because I don't really know how many of those players Tuchel wanted. They were heavily linked with the likes of Gordon. Did Tuchel really want Gordon? Did he really? That's the sort of profile we're talking about. Did he really want him? And in summation on that point, for me, this is Abramovich 2.0. It's a new owner, but it's the same club. It's the same way of doing things, sacking managers prematurely. And whoever comes in next, I fear they're going to suffer the exact same fate, because this Bowley figure, this character, this child maybe, just doesn't seem to really know what he's doing. They've spent 250 million quid, and yet they seem to have gone backwards almost. That club, maybe this is a bit too far to say, but this club stinks of toxicity. Apparently Tuchel lost the dressing room. How many times have Chelsea managers lost the dressing room? It's also different iterations of player. This club has a history. They are notorious for things go well, win stuff, things then go poorly, players literally down tools, players stab manager in back, manager probably unfairly sacked. It's probably more so on the players, rinse and repeat. And they decide to bring in a toxic character like Aubameyang, who we know has had issues with Dortmund. We know has had issues with Arsenal. That's why Arteta was desperate to get rid of him and offload him. The captain of the club, Arteta was like, no, actually, you're a bad influence in this dressing room. Get out of here. And Chelsea have seen it fit to sign someone like him into a dressing room which is apparently already upset, is apparently already toxic, because he's apparently lost a dressing room. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that is why I really fear for the man who they're going to probably bring in. It's probably going to be Graham Potter. And if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, then you will know that I love Graham Potter. He's the best English manager. He deserves to be at a Champions League club, and hopefully he will be managing the England national team in a few years. I really rate Brighton, and I really rate Graham Potter. And Graham Potter would be excellent for Chelsea, not just in terms of the way he plays, in terms of the back three, the fact that he's an excellent manager, excellent tactician, very good man manager, I think, as well. The fact that he now deserves a Champions League club. So I actually think that he would probably do very well with Chelsea, but from a Potter perspective, it wouldn't be an issue with Graham Potter. This is what I'm trying to say. Potter is the right man for Chelsea. Chelsea's not the right club for Potter. Chelsea will ruin him. They have a history of sacking. New owner, same situation. They have a history of unfairly sacking managers and not giving them enough time. They can say all they want. Oh, we know we always wanted Graham Potter. He was always the long-term vision, and we'll give him a fair chance now. Well, history's. You've only been the new owners have only been here 100 days, and already they've continued the Abramovich era of unfairly sacking managers, and I just fear so much they are going to ruin England's best manager. They're going to ruin the best English manager that we currently have. Someone who's doing a fantastic job at Brighton. And he's going to go to Chelsea. He might do well at Chelsea initially. Maybe he is good enough to win the best trophies with a good club. I'm convinced of that. And maybe he will do well short term. But it's not going to be a Guardiola situation. It's not going to be a Klopp situation. It's not going to be what I think will be an Arteta situation where the manager is there for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It's going to be another short-term job. The dressing room's going to be lost yet again. It's going to become toxic again. Players are going to get down tools again. It seems like you can take the physical Abramovich out of Chelsea, but you can never kill the idea. You can kill the man, but you can't kill the idea of unfairly sacking managers prematurely and ultimately ruining them. There are very rare cases where Chelsea have sacked a manager and they've gone on to achieve equal or better things. Conte wasn't sacked. He left by mutual consent. I think Ancelotti is the only example I can really think of who is still at that elite level after being sacked by Chelsea. And the final thing I want to say on that, Potter is the right man for Chelsea, but Chelsea isn't the right club for Potter, is that fundamentally, therefore, it's not going to be a perfect fit. One of the reasons why Potter works so well at Brighton is because all the Brighton players buy in to Potter's philosophy and they trust him 100%. And they just basically do everything he says. And as I say, they buy into his philosophy and ideas. I don't really see that dynamic working at Chelsea. In before I'm proven wrong, but the track record of this club and the track record of these players is that if things aren't going well or they don't fully buy into the philosophy or the ideas of their manager, then they turn on that manager. Like Tuchel, for example, the dressing room was lost because apparently wasn't playing players where they wanted to play in terms of like on the pitch position or not playing as frequently as possible. But that was Tuchel's ideas. They didn't want to buy into that. And instead of going, right, we will buy into this, we'll trust you wholeheartedly because, look, you won the Champions League. This is with us. This is just like, a rough spell we're going through right now. Instead of buying in and doing that, they went, no, actually sack him off. We want someone else now. I don't want to play with this toy anymore. I want someone else. I want a new toy, please, mum. And as I say, I really fear that Potter is going to get destroyed by Chelsea through probably no genuine fault of his own. It's going to be another situation where it's an unfair sacking, but Potter relies on players buying into his philosophy and giving everything to the cause and just totally trusting him and his style of play. And that dynamic does not seem to exist at Chelsea. That is why I fear for Potter. That is why I think that they are going to ruin Potter. And I'm genuinely concerned about that because, as I say, I really like Graham Potter as a manager, maybe being too doom and gloom about it. But let me know what you guys think. If you're a Chelsea fan, what are your thoughts on Tuchel getting sacked? Surely you agree that it's an unfair thing to do. Like it's just a bit mad. Let me know who you think will come in. Let me know who you think should come in. Am I being too doom and gloom on Graham Potter? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.